But today we're going to talk a little bit about laying the groundwork. So I'm a real nuts and bolts kind of guy. So I'm going to give some specifics here that I think may help everybody kind of just sort of quantify things and craft the best possible resume and cover letter. So when you're making contact, I'm going to focus on three areas. One is the letter of interest or introduction, also known as a cover letter. Then we've got the resume and reference sheet, and then your follow-up correspondence. Now, I'd like to start off by sharing with you a sample cover letter. This is actually, I changed names around and that kind of thing, but this is essentially a cover letter that I was presented, about 6 or 7 years ago. So forgive me for reading, but I'll just going to take you through it. Dr. Morgain, I am extremely excited to apply for the position of assistant band director at Hometown High School. I am a hard worker and someone who feels that music is a great way to teach not only music skills, but also life skills. I am confident you will find me to be the ideal candidate to fill this position. New paragraph. I studied wind pedagogy at IU with Dr. Ida No and Dr. Aaron Finger, and I performed with the IU Wind Ensemble, Horn Octet, and Symphony Orchestra. I student taught at Wunderkind High School, where I learned a great deal from my cooperating teachers, Carson Milot and Nada Clue. I was a marching tech with the Pride of Wunderkind Marching Band. I conducted bands on 2 concerts, observed section rehearsals, and worked with beginner and middle school band classes. These experiences taught me so much about instrumental techniques, both in large and small group settings, and how to manage rehearsal time. I loved every minute of my student teaching experience. New paragraph. Also, I am an experienced DCI performer. I played mellophone with the Carolina Crown Drum and Bugle Corps for 2 summers, and I served as a 2-year drum major of the In-State University Marching Band. These experiences provided me with firsthand experience with specific concepts, including marching technique and ensemble timing, and confidence in my ability to teach these skills successfully. All in all, new paragraph, all in all, I believe I'm ideally suited to serve the Hometown Band program. Please contact me at your earliest opportunity so that we may discuss my qualifications further. Musically, John Lader. Now, there's some very good things about this letter, the way it's composed. There's some very good things about it, but there's some things that are set up a little bit of a red flag to me, or signal this might be somebody who's not really a professional yet. So let me touch on a few of those. First of all, rather than Dr. Morgain, the salutation should be more of a formal one and a personal one. Dear Dr. Morgain. When you're a teacher and you get an email from a principal and it just says, Eric, comma, it's like, uh-oh, what did I do wrong? But if it says, hi, Eric, or good morning, Eric, you're automatically at ease. So when you say, dear Dr. Morgain, you're subordinating yourself, but you're also being friendly. Next little red flag here. I am extremely excited to apply. Let's avoid those superlatives, those words like extremely. Let's keep it a little bit more on a, not really so much a peer level, but a much more professional level. That's a little too colloquial. Same thing with saying, this is a great way to teach not only music skills, maybe it's an effective way to teach life skills. And then to say, I'm confident you'll find me to be the ideal candidate. That's very presumptuous. Again, we want to be humble. Most people are looking for somebody, especially a young teacher, entry-level teacher, someone who's willing to learn. And if you come off as if you already know too much, you might not be as appealing as some people who are a little bit more aware of their experience or lack thereof. And here's the word great again. I learned a great deal from my cooperating teacher. Maybe quantify. Give me something specific you learned from your cooperating teacher. I was a marching tech. Now, not every person you might be submitting your cover letter to will be familiar with the term marching tech. Maybe this is a fine arts supervisor who is an art teacher, or maybe this is going directly to a principal. So avoid this kind of technical terminology that might be a little bit too esoteric for someone who's outside the profession. Here we say, I observed section rehearsals. That's not a bad thing. But if you actually taught those section rehearsals or co-taught them, that takes it to a little higher level than I observed them. And again, if you observed, maybe look for another way to spin that so your involvement seems a little bit more hands-on. These experiences taught me so much. Again, this is not quantitative. I would look for something that tells me specifically what I learned so that I can put you then in a category of, yeah, this matches with what we're looking for. I loved every minute of my student teaching experience. We all want that to be the case, but save that for the interview. This is a little bit more of a personal statement. And let me also say, I would avoid big philosophical statements in a cover letter. Everyone's philosophy of music education, you'll find they're pretty much the same. And there's really not a lot that's going to distinguish you there. All that you might do is expose a flaw in your ability to compose that philosophical statement. So, if you're asked specifically, what is your philosophy of music education, then by all means, craft that carefully. But I would avoid doing that in a cover letter. This is about getting you to the next step. Here's another example of terminology that might be specific to the activity. I'm an experienced DCI performer. What does DCI mean? I had somebody years ago, we were talking about BOA. BOA was actually in print, and this person said, so what's a BOA? And there was no explanation anywhere about what BOA meant, so Bands of America. So
what's a BOA?
Want to avoid, what's that now? Yeah.
What's a BOA?
Yeah, exactly. What's a BOA? Then down here at the conclusion, all in all, there's nothing really wrong with that, but it's wordier than it needs to be. In all might be a little bit more concise. I am ideally suited. Again, a little presumptuous at this stage of things. Please contact me at your earliest opportunity. No, don't say that. You don't want to contribute to the workload of someone that you're trying to get a job from. You might want to invite them to contact you, but don't charge them like giving them a task list. That's way above your current pay grade. And then at the bottom here, when we say musically, again, that's a little bit outside the what I would consider to be truly professional correspondence. So I would save that. I would not use it. Sincerely or yours truly, stick to the formal closure. Now, let's take just a look at this from a layout standpoint. We've got a pretty well-crafted letter. We did not justify the margins on the right. I advise against that because the margins being at their natural spacing, the characters being at their natural spacing makes it a little bit easier on the eye. But I look at a big block of text here, and I'm not sure I'm going to get to the end of that. So let me show you how I might reformat this that might invite the reader to pay more attention to it. So check this out now. So instead of having indentations and paragraphs, I've broken this up now with white space so that my eye sees the text in blocks. And I'm going to come back to the formal structure of this in a minute, but let me break things down about the way I kind of like to see the content of each one of these paragraphs. Of course, at first we have a formal personal salutation. We've already discussed that. Your first paragraph is a brief introduction. This is, here's who I am. Here's the position I'm applying for. And keep in mind, the position you're applying for may be one of several they have available. So saying which position you're applying for in this paragraph is important because it helps the reader then sort things out. Your next paragraph is the main body. This is your essential info. This is where you identify all the things that you want them to know about you that match you with the job you're seeking. The next paragraph, these are additional qualifications or unique skills. And in this case, you'll see, furthermore, I am well-versed in the marching band arena. You'll notice that there's some, I've changed the wording around a bit so it sounds a little bit more formal, a little bit more professional. We'll come back to that in just a moment. Then we have a summary statement. And this again, basically takes everything you've said so far and encapsulates it. That is your final statement of why you would be a good person for this job. Then we have your statement of appreciation and what I call your charge. That is a charge being a responsibility you're giving the person, but you're not saying, please contact me at your earliest opportunity. You're saying, I look forward to your reply. That invites the reply kindly. It says that you are interested and that you're hoping to hear from them. And then of course we have the closure. In this case, sincerely, John Later. Now notice the cell phone number is right there. You may have your cell phone number at the top in the header if it's a printed copy or a PDF. By the way, whenever you send digital copies of things, always send them as PDFs so you retain the formatting. Never send a resume or cover letter as an attachment in a native document like Word or Pages, something like that. I always recommend that you do it as a PDF. But the reason you put your cell phone number right here beneath your name is so that the person reading this can make an impulse call. At that very moment, John sounds like a really strong candidate. I'm just going to see if he's available right now. And that means that when your phone rings and you see a number you don't recognize, you answer it anyway. So you just have to deal with those telemarketers and all that for the time being. You've got to answer your phone. So if I could, if it's all right, I'd like to go back and just sort of look at this and see how we've reworded things. So we've got our Dear Dr. Morgaine, please consider this letter of interest for the position of Assistant Band Director at Hometown High School. I recently earned degrees in music education and horn performance from In-State University. I believe the sum of my experiences thus far has equipped me to serve the high caliber of programs in the hometown school district. And it just occurred to me, there's actually a problem here with subject-verb agreement. I believe the sum of my experiences thus far has equipped me. That is, no, I'm sorry, that is correct. I think I already corrected myself, so good for me. But you want to be sure, obviously, that you have subjects and verbs agreeing and understand the differences among there, and there, your, and your. Those are errors that a college-educated person should not make, especially in writing.
Frank, a quick note on that.
Yeah,
I want to,
sure.
And this is probably something that you're planning on mentioning. But if you're a college student, get a subscription to Grammarly. They have a free version, which is great. I've been using Grammarly for the past couple of years, and there's the excuse of I didn't have a good experience in high school English is not a good excuse for writing with poor grammar. That will not fly with your college professors, nor will it fly with once you start applying for jobs. So I recommend getting that subscription to Grammarly. Get the free one, definitely. And if you can afford to do the subscription, it's not a lot for the paid for version. And it's very helpful, especially if you're looking for applying for jobs and stuff like that and trying to make yourself have that professional appearance that you need.
Yeah. And I have a subscription to Grammarly, as probably comes as no surprise, and I use it all the time. And it certainly has changed the way I think of how I craft things as well. So it's a great point, Eric. Thank you for jumping in there. So this paragraph, as I said, is the essential information, the main body of the paragraph. I'm just going to read this quickly since there are a few changes from the version we did before. I studied wind pedagogy at IU with Ida No and Dr. Aaron Finger, and I performed with the IU Wind Ensemble, Horn Octet, and Symphony Orchestra. I student taught at Wunderkind High School under the mentorship of Carson Mylott and Dr. Nada Clue. I worked with the Pride of Wunderkind Marching Band, rehearsed and conducted bands at several levels on 2 concerts, organized and taught section rehearsals, and worked with beginner and middle school band classes. These experiences taught me how to teach instrumental techniques effectively in large and small group settings, manage rehearsal time, and tailor my instructional strategies to students at all levels of musical experience. Wow, this person's got a really great body of experience already. And here it is, all encapsulated in one paragraph. Next paragraph, this is now our unique skills or other qualifications. Furthermore, I am well versed in the marching band arena. Notice we don't say DCI because we all understand marching band. I played mellophone with Carolina Crown Drum and Bugle Corps for 2 summers, and I served as a 2-year drum major of the In-State University Marching Band. These experiences provided me with a pedagogical understanding of specific concepts, including marching technique and ensemble timing, and confidence in my ability to teach and implement these concepts successfully. In all, I believe the breadth of my performance and educational experiences, my work ethic, and my commitment to continuous learning and improvement make me an ideal candidate, not the ideal candidate, but make me an ideal candidate to serve the hometown band program. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to your reply sincerely. And if we want to look at this from a structure standpoint, let's just take a look at the size of each paragraph. Now in an email, of course, the length of every paragraph visually will change depending on the size of the window. But when you send an attachment as a PDF, we are in control of the layout. So notice that our first paragraph in this iteration is 4 lines long. Our next one is 8, then 5, then 3, and then 1. So as the paragraphs get smaller, I am more likely to get to the bottom because I see less and less text that's going to demand my attention. So it's a little psychological trick to get people to get to the bottom of the page. And of course, if you send this as an attachment, it might look like this: clean margins, the addressee with a formal title at the top with the address, good old traditional approach to things. And on that subject, and Dr. Payne, I invite you to share your thoughts on this as well. Public school education is a very conservative institution. And when we are well-spoken, well-read, well-traveled, we represent ourselves well on paper with nice, clean margins and carefully selected words, we tend to appeal to that sense of traditional values. And we tend to invite the support and enthusiasm of that community. Dr. Payne, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, and as I was going through and listening, one of the things that I would add in there too, when you're sharing your experiences, doing some research on those districts and the programs for which you're going to apply. If you know a little bit about maybe a tradition that they have within the district, or you know some of the events that they host, or you've been a part of it, or you know of it, being able to align those skills and those abilities and what you bring to the table to one of those instances, and be able to talk about that, really establish it. And I think that goes back to your initial concept of building relationships. If they know that you've gone above and beyond to really establish that connection with not only the program, but the community and the district itself ahead of time, that puts another word saying, okay, I'm invested in this. And so being able to show that alignment of those skills with what you bring and how it meshes with what they are currently doing, I think is a really good point of order to bring in as well in that cover letter.
Excellent.